Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is all about drawing stars, and they're very simple and easy to do, and you can put these in your illustrations or your bullet journal. So you'll need something to draw on. I'm using my bullet journal and a pencil and then a couple ink pens. I have my microns in 2 sizes, and I have a ruler. You might want to use that as a straight edge or to measure out depending on how precise you want to make your stars. So I'm starting with the first category, which is the 4-pointed star. It's a diamond shape. And because the pencil is so light and doesn't really show up on camera so well, I'll show you the close-up here with the ink pen. It's a lot easier to see. So essentially you're starting out with a diamond shape, which is normally straight lines, but something as simple as curving those lines will give you a really whimsical looking star. And then playing around with the length of that, for example on the bottom I elongated it, and that will also give you just a different style on that same shape. Alright, so for the second half of this page on the top, I'm doing the 5-pointed star. Now this is probably the most common. Okay, so a real close-up, starting from the bottom left, you'll go up and then down and to the side and create that 5-pointed star. And then using that same basic shape, you can do variations on it. So an outline, a solid colored one. You can also elongate some of the edges and make it more whimsical. I forgot to add in a solid colored one for the 4-pointed star, so I'll just add a couple of those in as well and then show the elongated version of that too. And then something really fun you can do with that 5-pointed star is a nautical style. So you'll create the 5-pointed star first and then add in these lines that go from the center point all the way out to each of the corners. And then what you will do is just color in each of these sections and alternate black, white, and that will give you the basic nautical star look. The next version is the 6-pointed star. Alright, so if this is looking a little confusing, it's because after filming I realized that I made a little mistake here and put an 8-pointed star on these 3 instead of a 6-pointed one. So I'm going to use a little whiteout tape and then just do this part over. So for that 6-pointed star you'll need 3 lines. Use those 3 lines as your base, and then you can pull some out and make them asymmetrical and then do an outline version as well. The other way to do a 6-pointed star is using 2 triangles that are overlapping each other. One is upward and one is just upside down. You can also create an outline version of it by just using the pencil lines as your guide. And then doing another one with the lines through the center, you can create the nautical version. Okay, and then for the final version of these stars, this one is the 8-pointed star. This one might be my all-time favorite because it can really look quite magical and whimsical, especially when you keep adding in the little points and angles and then stretch out parts of them. So starting with your very basic shape, it's like the 6-pointed star with the X in the middle, except this time you're going to do 4 lines instead of 3 lines. Again, you can make a couple asymmetrical and elongate a few of them, and then do an outline version, which will do that alternate black and white shading. So for the bottom version here, I'm doing the longer bottom angle that's really stretched out, and then I'll do the nautical version, which will be on the right hand side of that. This is my white Jelly Roll pen. I use it to fix up any little areas that I might have made a mistake or had a little line go where it shouldn't have gone. Okay, and then using my brush pen, I'm going to put in the words Star Guide just to sort of pull the whole thing together. And then add in a very simple divider for each of the 4 sections. And just a quick reminder, remember to hit that subscribe button on my channel so you never miss a brand new video. Okay, so on the right hand side of this page, I thought it might be fun to create a top 5 tips of how to use these stars and how I use them when I'm designing and making compositions. So my first tip would be to mix and match and use different styles together, so don't just stick to one version. The second tip would be to keep in mind your scale and use different sizes. Use a range from small, medium, and large. Third tip is to use clusters in a grouping of 3 or 5 or 7. Odd numbers tend to look a little better as far as composition. That's sort of my general rule. Fourth tip is to use lines to show a shooting star maybe, or a starburst, lines coming out from behind the star. And the fifth tip is to use shadows. So you can see that adding a little dimension can do a lot, even just with a few shadow lines. So something that I've done in the past that I wanted to show you real quick was how to make a compass star. This is the compass rose. It goes in the middle of the compass, and this is how you would make it. It's the 8-point star. It's the last one that we did, and just follow along. And then you're going to use some circles in the middle and around that center part. I'm using my washi roll tape to make a rough guide for that circle. You can also freehand it and then add in that black and white alternating pattern. And the last step would be to add the north, south, east, and west markings. So this is just the basic version. You can of course go as detailed as you like and keep on adding some textures and lines and little elements. Totally up to you. And now, because I'm going to use this in my bullet journal as a guide, I'm going to label each of these little tips that I just talked about. So the mix and match, the scale sizes, the cluster, the lines, and the shadow tips. And then I'm using my white jelly roll just to put in the numbers on top of the black circles. I also wanted to make that word guide under star stand out a little bit more. So I used that brush pen and my white jelly roll to make a little banner. And then I put the letters GUID right underneath in the center. And the very last thing I'm doing is adding in the categories for the different styles of stars that we did and putting down 4, 5, 6, and 8 points in each of these boxes. I hope you enjoyed drawing and doodling with me. You now have a variety of ways to make stars and top 5 tips on how to use them. Thanks for joining me. And if you like this, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.